We are moving on to topic 4, lesson 5, the Maurya Empire begins. So let's look at your digital notebook. You'll see on page 1 there is a question. So we are not starting with the vocab. Vocab's on page 2. You've got 7 pages. Page 7, there is a mastery check question. Page 6, you have a mastery check question. Page 5, you have 2 mastery check questions. And page 3 is a mastery check question. Let's go ahead and begin our lesson.
Lesson 5. The Maurya Empire begins.
All right, what is the question? Who overthrew the king of Magadha, and when was the kingdom overthrown? So who and when, you'll find both of those answers in this red paragraph that's about to be read to you. It's going to be 2 separate questions on your formative. So let's listen.
By the end of the Vedic age, many kingdoms and chiefdoms covered India. The strongest of the kingdoms was Magadha. Around 321 BCE, a rebel army overthrew the king of Magadha. The leader of the rebels was a young man named Chandragupta Maurya.
All right, again, the question, who overthrew the king of Magadha? The second part of the same question, when was the kingdom overthrown? All right, let's go ahead and watch this video. I'm going to make it full screen so that...
Ancient India in the Vedic age was a mix of different peoples living in many different small states run by kings and chieftains. Then, in about 321 BCE, a young hero led a rebel group to overthrow the strongest of those kingdoms. His name was Chandragupta Maurya. Like many young heroes, there are lots of stories about Chandragupta. Was he actually a prince brought up by poor farmers? No one knows. But he did have an older mentor, a Brahmin named Kautilya, who thought he had found a born leader. He helped young Chandragupta raise an army and work out a way to win. Their first target was taking back the northwest and Indus Valley. Only a few years earlier, another young hero, Alexander the Great, had conquered the territory for the Greeks. Now Chandragupta's army defeated the Greeks and he could move on to Magadha. After that victory, he gradually went after the other kingdoms. Chandragupta had more than just a clever strategic plan. He also had strong and effective weapons. One was the Indian bow, which was as tall as a man and could send an arrow to pierce an enemy's shield. By about 305 BCE, Chandragupta had built the Maurya Empire, the first to rule all of northern India, and in just about 15 years. Now the question was, how, as emperor, could he keep control of it? It covered a huge area of land and was home to so many different peoples. And of course there was no kind of communication like telephone or radio. His solution sounds quite modern, like governments today. First, the emperor split up the huge territory into smaller sections called provinces. Each one had its own government. Then he set up a bureaucracy, just like modern governments have. There were officials in every village and province. They carried out the emperor's orders and reported back to him. Finally, he set up a tax system to pay the government workers and support the army. Taxes came from farmers and merchants alike, and like many other ancient rulers, he put his own pictures on coins. The idea was to make all his subjects feel that their emperor was a real person who was looking after them. Not surprisingly, Chandragupta had many enemies. How could he protect himself? The answer was spies. Servants tasted his food, women warriors guarded his palace. Spies looked into everyone's lives. They reported to the emperor every day. In another way, Chandragupta also acted much like a modern ruler in dealing with neighboring kingdoms and regions. West of the Indus River, Greek forces controlled Persia. Would the two empires clash or make peace? After a few battles, the two powers made a peace treaty. The Greek general in Persia gave up some land. Chandragupta's peace treaty gift was 600 elephants. He seems to have followed the advice of his old mentor, Kautilya. In a book of political advice, he had said, "The primary duty of a king is the protection of his subjects." Do you think Chandragupta was a good ruler? Why or why not?
All right, let's go ahead and... All right, moving on to page 2. Let's look at those vocab words. You've already defined these on your Friar, but let's go ahead and look. Strategy, a long-term plan for achieving a goal. Province, territory that is under the control of a larger country. Bureaucracy, system of many government officials who carry out government rules and regulations. And subject, person under the rule of a monarch. Go ahead right now, pause my video, get these 4 vocab words defined in your digital notebook.